As an avid reader, there are a few bookish things that I absolutely love that are not books, but they add significantly to my enjoyment of my books. From apps on my phone to physical places, here are some of my favorite resources and platforms as a reader. I've got my notes here in front of me so I don't miss any details, and we're gonna hop right in. The first thing on my list has to be the Storygraph. This is the platform that I use to track my read books, my ratings, my TBR. Goodreads is just not, frankly, keeping up with the times. I hate the interface of the Goodreads platform. And because it's tied directly to Amazon, owned by Amazon, I feel like they're almost always pushing books on there that are specifically going to like benefit Amazon itself. And I appreciate that the Storygraph is not doing that. They were started by a Black woman and are still independently owned, I believe actually by that same person. I'm not 100% sure, but I love that the interface is so much more updated and current than Goodreads is. I love that they aren't owned by Amazon, although you'll see I'm a bit of a hypocrite on that one later in this list. I especially love the stats they provide about your reading. So they let you break it down by length, by mood, by genre, by themes. And it gives you a better sense of your patterns in your reading that show you what you love or even things that you may want to steer clear of. I also like they have a challenges section where you can join reading challenges created by other people, or you can create your own public or private reading challenges. And these can go beyond things just like number of books you read or page count for reading goals. So, for example, I have one set up for myself that is to read a book from each country in the world. I've chosen not to set a time limit on that challenge, but it just helps me keep track of where I've already read, what countries I'm missing, what books I'm considering for different countries. I also appreciate that they have a user-generated trigger warning section on each of the books that the authors can also contribute to on their own books. It's free to use, the platform, or everything I've listed here is free. I just use the free version, but you could also support the platform and you can gain access to a ton of additional data points and features on those paid plans. I've also heard amazing things about Fable as a platform, and it looks stunning. Like the actual interface is beautiful, but I've never actually used it myself. But I really, really love the Storygraph. I think it's a phenomenal alternative to Goodreads. All right, number 2 here is romance.io. This is a website with nearly every romance book in any genre that I've heard of on their website, and it gives user-generated star and spice ratings to each book. There are also a huge amount of tags that users can add to books to help you find your next read based on so many different categories. Like you can filter by tropes that you love, you can filter by subgenre, character traits, spice level, character dynamics, all kinds of different things that you can filter by with those tags to find things that are similar to books you've liked in the past. I love looking on there for recommendations around, like I'll go to a book I like that I know I've liked in the past that has romance in it, and then I'll use the tags to like hone in on what might be a good next read for me. And especially as someone who is not super well versed in the romance space, like I read a decent amount of books that have romance in them as like a subplot, but I'm not as frequent of like a romance reader. It's a really helpful tool for me to help discover like new authors. I just feel a bit like I don't know who's prominent in the romance space aside from the people who are like really, really, really popular. And that like kind of next tier or even folks who are like indie publishing, I have no clue in the romance space. Like I know those kinds of things in like the sci-fi and fantasy spaces, but romance is like a black box to me. So it really helps me discover new authors. It's totally free to use. I believe they do have paid tiers for fairly cheap if you want to support the platform as well. Like if you're a heavy user, maybe consider it. But I've never had trouble just navigating the free version. I will say interface, not wonderful, but it's functional. So I'll give it a pass on beauty standards. Gosh, I've got like dog hair on my face from all over my couch and I keep like having to rub my nose. Sorry about that. Number 3 on my list here is my public library. Public libraries are, in my opinion, one of the most important aspects of any given community, and I am so happy to support them in any way possible. I like to register for their like fun bookish crafts to show interest in their programming. I like checking out books for myself and my kids on a regular basis to show usage of physical materials and digital materials. It's the first place I check for my audiobooks and ebooks always. I have both the Libby and the Hoopla apps from my library, and they have an unbelievable amount of digital material available on there. It is very, very, very rare that I cannot find something I want to read on one of those 2 platforms, digitally or physically from my library. They provide so many essential services to communities, and you can keep those services running just by showing that there is community interest and need in what the library is providing. Can you even believe that you get all of these things for free from your library? It is absolutely mind-boggling when you really think about it, especially with the cost of books these days. Like, gosh, I feel so old saying something like that, but like, my goodness, I wanted to buy a hardcover book of a pretty chunky sci-fi book I really love recently, and it was $45. That's so much money. And yes, you're paying technically from your taxes if you're in the United States anyway. I actually don't know how libraries are funded in other countries, but I would rather my taxes go to that than like nearly anything else, especially given the way our country is currently structured and the way our money is currently being used. So I also frequently buy books from our Friends of the Library sales because it's a great way to get a book without purchasing it new for way cheaper, again, than purchasing it new. And I've discovered so many new authors that way because I'm willing to take a risk on a book I've like never heard of if I'm only going to spend $3, and I know that money goes straight back into the hands of my library to support their services. Way more willing to take a risk there on like a new author or a new genre than I am on like, man, an expensive book that I would buy brand new that, sure, the money might be going to like an independent bookstore, also an important essential service in a community, but it's a lot heavier lift, so I'm less likely to do that and take a risk on it. Speaking of supporting independent bookstores, item number 4 here is that if my local independent bookstores do not carry a book I'm looking for, but I still want to support them with my purchases, I try to buy books from bookshop.org for physical books or LibroFM for audiobooks as much as possible. So if I am buying something new, those are kind of my first tier of where to look if my local independent bookstore does not have a copy. I will also say that most independent bookstores will order a book for you, like special order it for you, and it won't be more expensive than if you just bought the book from them directly. So that's also an option. Sometimes though, I'm not willing to wait for that process. I'll just be honest. Or if I'm looking for an audiobook, there's that, right? So both of those companies, bookshop.org and LibroFM, give a portion of their sales to local bookstores that you get to choose. Or if you don't want to choose one particular bookstore in your area to support with that, they will auto distribute based on your zip code when you're ordering. So yes, you're supporting a large company. You're supporting a company like bookshop.org or LibroFM for sure. They're definitely keeping a big portion of the sale as well, right? But at least a portion of your sale is going to a local company as well. I will just say that for bookshop.org, the auto distribute list for my zip code, they are not all places that align with my values. For example, a few local churches have their like lending libraries listed on there as like quote bookstores. And then they will get a portion of my sale if I don't choose otherwise. And that's not inherently bad. And for some people, that might be a benefit, right? Like to have it going to a local church community. I know that religious organizations are an important part of a community for many folks. There's nothing wrong with that. I just personally, that's not where I would prefer my money is going. I would prefer it's going to a true independent bookstore, not to a lending library in a church that is purchasing only religious materials for only the members of their church. That's just a personal preference thing. So I'm just saying maybe check the list of places that they distribute to by default in your area for your zip code. And it's really transparent on there. They make it very transparent. And if you're not happy with your default list, maybe select your local bookstore that you would like it to go to in particular. If you ever do want to purchase something from bookstore.org, just a shameless reminder that I have an affiliate link for them in every single one of my description boxes, and then I'll get a small kickback as well. So you can get the book you want, you can support your local independent bookstore, and you can support me all with one purchase. Of course, don't go buying books just to try to support those units necessarily. I mean, if you want to and you have the money to, wonderful. But if you happen to be choosing to support your bookstores this way, I would love for you to use my affiliate link as well. Thank you. All right, number 5, and here's where I become a hypocrite, and it's a kicker here that I'm honestly a bit ashamed to admit. However, I think that the Amazon original stories on Kindle are so good that those alone make my Amazon Kindle Unlimited subscription worth the money. They are mostly short stories, some novellas, some are even a little longer, closer to like a full-length book, but these are fiction stories across essentially every genre that are written by very famous authors, but written exclusively for Amazon. So they're similar to like a Netflix original series or Hulu originals or like Amazon Prime originals on like their video platform. These stories can only be found on Amazon Kindle with either a Prime or a Kindle Unlimited membership. Most of them are free on Prime. Some of them are like $1 on Prime. And then if you have Kindle Unlimited, they're all free. So if you have those subscriptions anyway on Amazon, like if you've got an Amazon Prime account anyway for just purchasing products from Amazon, give it a try because they're free. You already have access to them. You may as well get your money's worth. And if you're going to be supporting Amazon, like you may as well also be supporting authors in the process, in my opinion. They are so well written. I mean, truly the lineup here, folks, like the authors that are included, gosh, Amazon has really partnered on these with phenomenal authors. They're a really, really great way to try out a new author that you want to kind of get a feel for their writing style or a new genre that's like unfamiliar to you. They're super great because if you find one story you like in any of these collections, they're typically grouped into collections either, well, really almost always around a theme where each story in the collection is from a different author who's phenomenal at writing within that genre or within that theme. So you can either keep reading these, if you find one you like, you can either keep reading by finding another short story by that same author that's also free in another collection to kind of get even more of a sense of their writing, or you can keep reading by finding another story covering similar themes by a different author within the same collection that Amazon has already built out for you. So in general, I really hate the idea here that I'm like supporting a huge company like Amazon with this habit, but I'll just be honest that this is one area where I'm willing to be a hypocrite because for me, the good outweighs the bad here as much as I don't want to admit it. I'd highly recommend looking into these, especially if you've already made the decision to have a Kindle Unlimited or an Amazon Prime account. Okay, my 6th and last category here is actually 2 different things, but it's the book of the month and the Aardvark book boxes. They are both subscription-based monthly book boxes that highlight new releases that they predict will be popular reads or that cover like especially poignant topics right now. So very importantly for me, as someone who does not like to own a lot of physical books, each of these subscription options allows you to very, very, very easily skip a month with no consequences. I promise you, like, I'm so skeptical of subscription boxes like this because I just think a lot of them rope you in and make it nearly impossible to skip a month. Both of these services, Book of the Month and Aardvark, both make it extremely clear. It's like one button. You just say skip this month and they don't pressure you. They don't push you. They don't accidentally charge you. Truly, it's like no gimmicks. I've done it repeatedly on both platforms with 0 issues, no surprise bills, no sneakiness whatsoever. If you're like me and you don't want to be forced into picking a book each month, if none of the ones they're offering resonate with you, or if you just don't have book or space, on your bookshelf at the time, don't feel like you're going to be like scary locked into these. They really make it super easy. They both produce beautiful hardback books that are all uniform in size, which is very, very satisfying on my bookshelf. If I'm honest with you, I prefer paperbacks in general. Like a good floppy paperback is 10 out of 10 for me. But if I have to get a hardcover, these 2 companies really do them right. They really, really do them right. They're super high quality. They're really beautiful. I love them. I will say I especially love the book selections from Aardvark. The variety they offer each month is just a little more aligned with my taste. They're a little more in like the speculative fiction space, whereas I find that Book of the Month ranges across multiple genres every month. And so with Book of the Month, it's usually like there's one book or sometimes no books that are really calling to me. Aardvark, it's usually like, gosh, it's hard to pick. But they have both really served me well, in particular for helping me find new authors. They both feature debut authors a lot, which I super, super appreciate. And three out of my 9 favorite books that I read in 2025 came from Book of the Month. 3. So a third of my favorite books that I read out of over 150 books in all of 2025, 3 of them came from Book of the Month. That's a pretty good track record, if I do say so myself. Book of the Month in particular, they have a much bigger backlist to choose from. They've been around for 100 years now, and you can choose books from their backlist to add on to your monthly book box each month. So they have really beautiful editions of like a lot of books that are now very popular and frankly became popular largely because Book of the Month flagged them as an up and coming author or book. So I would say for me personally, Aardvark aligns a little bit better with my taste month to month, whereas Book of the Month offers me way more variety and really helps me branch out a lot more. When looking through each of their websites, I appreciate that Aardvark, they have the usual filters by genre, but they also have some like silly fun categories like includes a dog. Or thematic filters like LGBT plus or satirical to kind of like filter choices based on those kind of factors, not just genre. Book of the Month tends to filter more by genre. And then they have categories like new releases or previous year award winners or things like that. So their filtering's a little bit different, but either way, I think you'd be able to find something you like on either platform using their filters, which is great. I do have a Book of the Month referral link in all of my description boxes. So again, another shameless plug here. If you use my referral link, you do get your first book for only $5, which is awesome. $5 for a good quality hardcover. I mean, you really can't beat that. I also then get a free credit to use in a future month with them. So I get a free book. Basically, you can gift me a free book by getting your own book for only $5. Also, Aardvark gives you your first book for only $4. Wow, phenomenal. But they don't have a referral program where I can like link you straight to it. If you happen to decide to sign up for Aardvark and you want to go the like extra mile to give me credit for referring you, you can email them just their regular support email after you sign up, letting them know that you were referred by me, and they'll give me a free credit as well, which is really nice of them. They're just a newer company, so they don't have like an affiliate or referral program set up yet. Again, seriously, zero pressure, just shamelessly like self-promoting some things here because I'm a really small creator, and literally every single tiny thing really makes a huge difference to me. So there we have it, 6 different sort of like services, supports, whatever that I use as a reader. Bookish things I love that are not books, but hugely increase my enjoyment of reading. Thank you so much for being here. If you made it all the way to the end, you're the best. I will see you next time.